And Dan, I do have 1 o'clock on on our side.
Okay. All right.
Started.
Well, I have 2 o'clock, but we'll go with yours. We'll call the meeting to order, and I don't know if we do a roll call.
Yes, Kathy and I have the attendance list done.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Vice Chair Edmonds, because I am via Zoom in case we have technical problems.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go.
Yeah. Next action will be the approval of the agenda. Any additions? Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Have a
I'll
motion.
second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda as printed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. That motion carries. Excuse me. Public comment. I don't see anybody here.
I have not received any.
You have no written comment or anything. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan, you said. Okay, consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Unless somebody wants to remove something.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
That motion, the motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, reports, we'll start with the general manager.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, all the reports are in your packet. We are available if there are any questions.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to read the reports?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have anything they wish to question? Address?
I have none.
Nothing.
Nothing, I have nothing, so we'll move on to city of, okay, the city of Princeton report, is that gonna be separate or?
Yeah, I didn't get a written one.
I know.
I guess if you want to do a verbal.
That's fine.
Just a quick verbal, basically our focus has been, from a staff perspective, working through the city's response to the Baldwin Township Incorporation. Our written documents are due tomorrow by 4:30, and we'll be participating in the hearing a week from tomorrow, the Baldwin Town Hall, and then just working with the through the fire department transition and setting up processes and procedures and working with the assistant fire chief to continue to provide services to everybody that we serve under the Princeton Fire Rescue Department. So those are the two big things.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. A financial reports, we've all read them, other reports, any questions on any of those?
Nothing.
I have none.
Updates, Mr. Manager.
Can jump to the regular agenda.
Okay. In the regular agenda, first item will be 2023 year in review.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, in your packets, something that I like to provide to the commission early in the year is just a review of the prior year. Just gives us an opportunity to pause and reflect and recognize all the work that the commission has done as well as staff. It follows the same format. What you'll see is the activities taken by this commission for each month. And then beyond that, you will see data and statements by the different areas that we work in, water, electric, power plant, buildings, and facilities, administration, accounting and finance, et cetera. You'll see, I think, a consistent effort by, again, the commission and staff to meet the needs of our ratepayers, do outreach to the community, and continue to provide a cost-effective service to everyone. And then, again, we continue to do our outreach also within, amongst our peers, especially the city of Princeton, but also MMUA and SIPA, APPA, all the other organizations that we work with on a regular basis. The only thing I would add in, I did get some updates at the very end regarding the Interlight program savings. I still had the 2022 data in there because I didn't have 2023 yet. I did get that late last week. For the Interlight program, this is on the last page. We had a total number of participants of 2,360, and our total savings were 421,968 kilowatt hours, or an average of 14.9 kilowatt hours per customer month, which is up from the 2022 number of 12.1 kilowatt hours per customer per month. So that program continues to identify some significant savings for us, which helps us meet our statutory obligations. I wasn't really planning on going through it line by line. If you want me to, I
Time
will.
we have.
But I do think it's worth reviewing to understand all of the different projects that we work on. I think it's pretty easy sometimes for the public to look at just what happens at a commission meeting or a city council meeting for that matter, and realize that's just the tip of the iceberg of everything that goes on. So this is a way, I think, for us to be transparent in what we do. And so that's why I offer it each year.
Yes, and in my opinion, you do a very, very thorough job, and as I reflect on it, and Dan have his input too. Currently, we were busy. All you're new at this.
Yeah, you were busy.
You think you got into something, baby. No, I really thank you for doing this and covering it. It gives us a reminder of what we did.
And I'm always available if anybody should have any specific questions on any one item, but yeah, for a staff of our size, keep in mind, we only have 13 total employees, and we get a lot done.
For sure. Yeah, again, it's hard to believe, I guess. It just, when I look at it, I just kind of get mesmerized, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, anybody have any questions?
I have none.
Dan, you got any input? You were here, so.
I think we are running into some connection issues. So.
Looks like it, okay. All right, we have no questions on that. We will move on to generation feasibility report.
Yeah, I would just, so the other commissioners know, it looks like we did lose a connection with Dan,
Yeah.
so we will get him back up as soon as we can, but we can easily continue.
When you get back on, I can go back and see if you have any input.
Okay, with the generation feasibility report, again, this was placed in the packets, which we distribute on Friday to give the commission opportunities to review before the meeting. And the generation feasibility, I did end up just giving a quick overview to each of the individual commissioners as well. So Dan is familiar with what's in this section. Essentially, we had enlisted the aid of DGR to look at a potential addition of generation somewhere here in Princeton. The economics are looking particularly attractive at the moment. But our biggest concern was how it may impact the air permit for our existing units. Just as a recap, we have 5 diesel gensets here, producing about 12 megawatts worth of power. There are all sorts of vintages and makes and models. So it's if anybody hasn't been at the power plant, I would highly recommend it. It's fascinating. But since they are old units, they are under the old air permit standards. And bringing in a new unit, we wanted to be careful that it wouldn't be classified, that the MPCA wouldn't classify the entire power plant now, requiring it to meet new source performance standards. So that's always been a concern. So as part of a feasibility study, the first question that we needed to answer was, if we added anything, would it jeopardize that air permit? DGR looked into it. They did some pretty advanced modeling And in addition, they have been in conversations with the PCA. And I will also share, they are also doing similar generation feasibility studies with other cities who are, some of them are farther ahead than we are. So they do understand how the process is currently working. And so they're a valuable resource in that regard. Based on their modeling and their conversations with PCA, they've determined that we would be able to add generation without jeopardizing our existing air permit. That was really a go or no go point for us. If we were not going to be able to maintain our existing air permit, I don't see how we could have afforded to move forward. But with their analysis and when we had first talked with DGR, we wanted to do this high level review before we really got into the numbers. But since it does look favorable, and even if we added it here at the power plant, we wouldn't be looking at stack heights any higher than what we currently have, which is always a good thing. It does make sense to take the next step. And so DGR is recommending that. Staff concurs that with the current market data and with the modeling that they've done, it does now the next step to actually see what we would be looking at in terms of cash flows makes sense. So we are asking the commission for approval for to allow DGR to do phase 2 of the generation feasibility study. Again, it's to review it. It's not authorizing us to build anything just yet. It's more of to figure out costs and also location options if needed. So we'll look at more of the economics of it and see how that pencils out if the commission is in concurrence with that approach.
Yeah, I definitely would be, Dan, did you pick up on much of this or not?
I just got logged back in. I got kicked out.
I know this is probably one of your kind of high points or, bigger items, and I'm not speaking for you, but I just regarding your past comments of the generation expansion. And you and Keith have talked about it.
Yeah, I know we talked about, we didn't want to, at the expense of the ratepayer to do expansion, but it sounds like things are turning around where it might be the opposite. So that's some encouraging news.
Yeah, and I share that.
Yeah, the hope is, again, we want to be careful of subsidization efforts with non-Princeton ratepayers. And so the cash flow is really important. If we can actually have this make economic sense and use it as a hedge for rates, that would create a huge benefit for our ratepayers.
And we're growth minded, so we have some growth opportunities possibly down the road. So should those opportunities come to real, we will definitely have to look at more generation.
Well, the good thing is, if even if we have to borrow some money to do it, if it's positive cash flow, it makes sense. And also, if the feasibility study comes back on the industrial park and that something that makes sense, then we would be ready to service that territory with our own generation, which I know from the industrial standpoint, they want to know how they want to have reliable power, and like for instance, plastics products, and Lindstrom has their own generators set up because they don't have backup power over there. Where here, their factory here in Princeton, they rely on us for their backup power with our generation.
Yeah, I concur with everything. This report is been huge for moving on with looking at doing this. So, because that was, I think, probably one of our biggest fears, wasn't it?
Correct. Which was the air permit implications. That's correct.
Yeah, and then as Dan's point was too, that the ratepayers in Princeton subsidizing Tampa, I mean, we're not gonna do that. Certainly don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do you need action? Yes.
I would like a motion to approve the memo that was drafted up by staff recommending moving forward with phase 2 of the generation feasibility study.
Okay,
So moved.
we have motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Right?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you.
And I
Okay.
just have one other
Sure.
comment too on that, if that goes through. You know, just as we keep adding more renewable power, solar, whatever, you know, people always say, well, what happens when the sun's not out? So it makes sense to have, you know, this backup generation for, especially in Minnesota, I feel like, so.
Yeah, and it's not gonna hopefully get a lot of use, but when it is used, we'll be glad we have it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. These units are not base load or, you know, standard units. They are backup emergency units, so they only run what, a couple hundred hours if that, Scott. We probably run them more for
I was
exercising
gonna say, you
many
probably run more
years.
testing than you do actual use.
In terms of SIPA's appetite, they're there for the capacity, which means that we can meet whatever the needs are in that moment. They're not there as an energy generator throughout the year. It's just more of if the grid becomes constrained, we have a resource that we can call on in relatively short time to get onto the grid and support it. So it's really there for reliability purposes.
Okay, anybody else? Are we covered? All right, let's move on to legal services.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, there's actually 2 items under this category. The first one, memo 2407. We received notice that our law firm of McGran, Shea, Carnival, Strawn, and Lamb, if I'm getting all the names right. Yeah. They have dissolved, I guess, might be the best term for it. The firm has ceased to exist. We had been doing work with them for one particular expertise of our attorney, Kayla Brennan, which is service territory issues. Kayla has since moved to Spencer Bain LLP. And so she is now working for that law firm. Our engagement letter has been, although we work pretty much exclusively with Kayla, the engagement letters are with the law firm as our representation. And so currently that engagement letter with McGran Shea is no longer effective since they don't exist. So I did have Kayla draft up a new letter for a new agreement to allow us to continue to work with her at the new firm of Spencer Bain. Kayla again has a very specialized expertise in particularly on issues affecting municipal electric utilities. So I do value her counsel on some of those more technical issues. So staff's recommendation is to approve an engagement with Spencer Bain so that we can continue to work with Kayla on those issues. I'm available if the commission has any questions.
It certainly makes sense to me, and I think the hourly, the rates and stuff is pretty similar. Might be a little bit of a variant, but
Correct. The nice thing is Spencer Bain is actually headquartered out of Kansas City, but they do not have offices in LA and New York City, so therefore I don't have to pay East Coast or West Coast rates. We keep it very Midwestern. So that makes it easier for us.
certainly sound good. Okay, Paul or Dan?
I'll make
Yeah.
the,
Go ahead.
I made the motion, Dan.
No, I'll second.
Okay, we have motion second. Is there any more discussion? Did you have something to add, Dan?
No, that was just a second.
Okay. Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. And then second memo.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, the second memo 24-08, I did, reach out to the city, and inquire about potentially utilizing the city attorney for some of our, more standard, needs. In particular, the issue that came up was regarding some filing of easements and things like that, really, standard, legal services required for municipal type entities. So I did talk to Michelle about that. She didn't voice any real concerns. I did talk to Damien. Damien's only caveat would be, obviously his first priority is the city should anything ever come up between the two organizations, which I thought was very reasonable. He did also provide an agreement, which is attached in the packet. And like I said, my intent would be to utilize it for some of our more standard legal services that we need locally, whether it's easement works or maybe some basic contract reviews. We would still keep Kayla on as our go-to for specific electric utility issues, which can get a little bit more complicated, a little bit more specialized. But utilizing Tobin and Associates for more of our just standard needs seems to make some economic sense for us. So the proposal is to get into an agreement with Tobin and Associates as well for some duties.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see us going locally with a legal firm for certain things. And it's good. I think it makes sense for the city and public utilities to have the same attorney in some cases. So just makes sense.
Yeah, and I concur with that. And I don't want to get too far into the bad history, but at one time we shared the entire legal, I think, didn't we?
Oh, we did. We still, even then, we still had utilized Kayla again for some very specific services. So this is basically, yeah, going back to that.
Cause I just, okay, as I'm looking at this, the history, we maybe kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater at that time, but we didn't have a choice. This is me talking now, my opinion. And this is a good comeback or a good or a good way to kind of straddle that line that we did cross a few years ago. My thoughts. Dan, you have anything?
No, I agree. I think it's gonna make sense, probably reduce time and billable hours, which is I'm all in favor of.
That's always a good thing.
Yep.
Okay, then no more discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Tobin and Associates.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed, not carries. Okay, did you want to touch on a new hire or are we not doing?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else? Hearing nothing, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
We'll see
Dan.
ya. Yep. Bye now.
All right.